It'll just take 1 second. It'll just take one. Okay, we're all set. So thank you everyone for joining Maria and I today. Maria and I have met at astrology mentoring with Kelly Surtree. So it's love at first sight, and we found out we knew each other in a past life. But let's start with just both of us introducing ourselves, because you may have come from different places. So I am Celeste. I'm an astrologer, coach, and intuitive. And I am just obsessed with astrology and in love with horary. So yeah, my business is called Astrology by Celeste, and you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to be launching a bunch of other free events in April as I move up to the launch of my first Reach for the Moon classes, my Moon Mastery program. So great. So that's me. And Maria?
Hi, and I'm also signing up for your moon class because I can't wait to take it. But hi, everybody, I'm Maria. You can just call me Maria, but I run Sofia Astrology. I've been studying astrology. It's like in depth, I would say, for the last like 5 years. And I really had a love of horary. I'm a Hellenistic astrologer. I would say that's my avenue into astrology. But recently I started taking classes on the evolutionary astrology path with Stephen Forrest. So I'm just interested in all different types of astrology, but I definitely feel like horary, which we're going to talk about a lot today, is a really useful way of looking at astrology in terms of something that is very like action oriented and outcome oriented, and probably getting a little ahead of myself, but I look at, or I make astrology, horary astrology, I look at it as like akin to like almost like a tarot practice. So it's a lot more divinatory, it's a lot more predictive, but it can also be really soul-centered as well. So I think in terms of looking at it, like, you know, sometimes you don't want a full natal chart reading, or that's not really what you just need something like you have a burning question and you want to know the answer to it right away. That is something where horary astrology could be something that's really useful as a technique.
Great. Yeah, so just to make sure everyone knows how to use Zoom, there's a chat function at the bottom. And if you hit the chat box, why doesn't everybody put your sun sign and where you're signed in from in the chat? And if any questions come up, you can add those in there. I'm going to be doing more of the moderating as Maria is going to be presenting most of the information. But yeah, so the agenda is going to be, Maria is going to give us just an overview of a little more about horary and some of the guidelines about it. And then people submitted questions and she has picked some to answer. And then she's going to show the charts and walk through this technique. So it may spark people to start studying it more as well. So, and I'll just say, oh, I should have said, I'm a Sun Taurus, a Moon Aries, and a Cancer rising. So always should give the big three. So Maria, please tell us more.
Sure. So in much the same way that we all have a birth chart, so the moment we're born, you know, the nurse or the doctor notes what time we were born, and then we have our birth chart, and then that gives us our entire like kind of life overview, and we use it for transits, we use it to look at progressions, we use it to like analyze our natal chart. In that same way, you can think of a horary chart as the birth chart of a question. So let's say I have a question like, you know, I just interviewed for a job. Am I going to get that job? The question has now birthed in my mind. And once I say it out loud to the astrologer, in my case, I am my own astrologer. So it's like the second I have a question. But if I were to ask, let's say Celeste is my horary astrologer, the moment she understands the question, the question now has taken on its own life. And that's when we would look at our birth chart for the moment the question was born and into the world. And like we would analyze it similarly to a natal chart. unlike a natal chart where, you know, someone came for a natal chart consultation and you're probably going to go through every single planet and talk about every single house. In a horary, you're really looking at the specificity of the question. So in the example I just brought up, when it's job focused, you look at the 10th house. If someone was asking about, you know, should I buy this new house? We would look at the 4th house. If someone was asking about finances, 2nd, relationships, probably 7th. If they were asking about their children, probably the 5th. So you just go based according to like the thematic or the keyword of the question. And then you look at the ascendant, which is super important, the ascendant ruler, because that represents the person asking the question. And then you look at the moon because, and Celeste is very familiar with the moon, but we know that the moon is like the catalyst for a lot of events. And, you know, in terms of transits in our daily lives, how we feel. So we want to see that the moon is making contact, or the moon is at least like, what is the moon doing? Is it applying? What's it applying to next? Is it connecting the significators? Is it connecting, you know, the person to the question? So that is kind of like the general kind of like, I guess, philosophical or at least conceptual overview of horary. And then there's tons of different, you know, things that you're looking at within the chart. But I mean, in terms of like keeping it fairly simple, you're looking at the ascendant ruler. So if Gemini's rising, it's Mercury, you're looking at the house of the question. So with Gemini rising, the ascendant, the 10th house, who's that? That would be Pisces. So then we're looking, right? Is my math right? I think my math is right. Yeah, it's no, it's Aquarius. It's or it could be. So it depends on the quadrant house based system. But so then we're looking at Saturn, and we're just trying to see in the chart. And I'll just demonstrate it too, because previously when Celeste and I just tried to talk about this conceptually, I think it's hard to picture without looking at charts. So at some point I'm going to stop jabbering and show you guys charts and like show you how it works. But I guess before I jump in, Celeste, or if anyone else has any questions before we dive into like the nuts and bolts and like the watching the technique, are there like, did I breeze over it too quickly? Are there any questions?
If anyone has a question, just come off mute and ask. I think once you start, you know, talking through a chart, it'd be helpful if you know, say, just talk through the whole process.
Okay, so Valerie's saying good foundation, so cool. So I think maybe then if Celeste, unless there's something else I'm missing, like we can just jump right in.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I'm like not very technically savvy. I'm gonna try sharing my screen. I'm just gonna share my whole desktop. I think that'll probably be easier. And
Nemo!
All right. So I'm
Sorry,
gonna move everybody off to the side a little bit as much as I can. All right, and then I have my notes on the side. I'll try not to look at them too much, but I made a chart for every question that was submitted. Oh, and I did just want to say I could have saved it for the end, but I can say it now. There was a lot of questions, and there was a lot of really great questions. I tried to get to all of them that were horary focused. There were some about that are more electional. And so there is sometimes a little bit of a difference, and it is worth, I think, mentioning. So if you are asking a question like, when is a great time to launch my business? Or when is a good time to have a certain kind of surgery? Or when is a good time to get married? Like, can you help me pick a wedding date? That is not horary, and that's not the primary focus of horary. That's more electional astrology, which is something that I do as well. But that is more focused on like looking at upcoming transits, like looking at the heavens and the skies and what they're going to look like, and finding the most auspicious time. So, you know, for a wedding, we'd want, you know, actually this weekend isn't so bad for a wedding because you've got, you know, Venus and the Sun cazimi. But you're looking for just auspicious indicators for that topic. So if there's questions like that, my apologies, but it doesn't fit a horary lecture like we're doing today. But that would be something where potentially Celeste, you and I could do an electional astrology, and then we could answer those kinds of questions. But just in case you're here, and I did just want to address that. And the other thing I want to address too, but like we have a lot of charts to go through. So please, like, I guess from my perspective, two things, like at any point in time, I know I talk fast. So if I'm going too fast, feel free to interrupt me. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. And then if at any point in time you need to go, like, I won't take it personally. So just, you know, you have to go. Thank you for joining. And then, like, you know, we'll see. There's a recording, and we'll all can play it later too. So, and then I think you have my contact information. You can always reach out and ask me or Celeste any question you have about this. So all that preamble aside, let's get to the fun stuff.
I
Oh,
love how you have notes for the questions. That is incredible. Maria is a Virgo rising, and she's got Mercury. Is it a conjuncture ascendant?
it is. I'm like much nerdier than I think I get credit for.
She's a great writer. So we can see at the bottom, I don't know if it's just me, I can see like the Zoom and the Zoom meeting.
So I'm trying to, so I'm like, for me, it's on my right panel. I'm trying to get it out of my way, but I can't scoot it off the screen. Is it distracting?
Oh, no, it was my problem. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. And then I felt like there was one more thing I wanted to say, but maybe I'll remember. Okay, so the first question that I saw, and I did just want to talk about the technique that I used in terms of how we're going to approach these questions, because as Celeste and I were talking about it, because as we were saying earlier, like when horary is like the moment the question is birthed and the astrologer understands it, at that point in time, as the astrologer, I become responsible for the chart. So I have to cradle it like a baby. It's like, I'm part of this. I'm responsible for it too. So Celeste sent me all the questions, but I wouldn't look at them. I would only look at one at a time. And then I was like, so whichever first one caught my eye, that's how I answered them. So that's, so otherwise I would have answered them all at the same time and everyone's chart would have been more or less the same. So I wanted to show how like likely 23 people wouldn't be asking me a question all at once. So I tried to space it out over the week, answer them at different points in time when I had like a break at work or, first thing in the morning, whenever, I sat down to look at it. So all the charts are a little bit different. The ascendant ruler will be different. The moon is doing different things. And that's really what I wanted to be able to demonstrate as well, which is harder to do if I just picked, the question right now. Everyone would more or less have the same chart. Okay.
So there's one other question. So Susie's asking, can you discuss like what makes a question good for horary versus what makes it good for election?
Yes, a great question. I probably should have started with that. So a question needs to be personally relevant. So like we shouldn't, unless like, let's say I was, maybe Kim Kardashian's sister. I can't be like, what's going on with are Kim and Kanye getting divorced? Like, it's not my business. I shouldn't be asking things like that. There's gray areas in terms of like, can I ask, is Joe Biden going to win the election or is Donald Trump going to win the election? Because I'm a US citizen, I could say that I do have a vested interest in the outcome. It is personal. So there's some gray areas in terms of if you can ask political questions or like, are the Yankees going to win? Like maybe if I bet on the game, I might have a personal stake in it, but generally we try to avoid gossiping into other people's lives. So I can't say, is my ex-boyfriend dating somebody new? Because it's not my business anymore. Or, things that are just not, relevant to me. It should be of a personal nature. It should be of a personal concern. And the best way to phrase the question and think about it, and especially in terms of distinguishing between whether it's electional or whether it's horary, is there an outcome? So for example, I'll use a surgery as the example. So to say when is the best time to schedule a surgery, that's electional because I'm trying to find the best time to do something. But if I have a scheduled surgery and I want to know, is the surgery going to turn out okay? Then it becomes a horary question. So once there's an answer that the chart can show, that's when it switches over and it's like becomes like a good, valid horary question. Other questions, other things to think about in terms of questions, like the kinds of questions. Yeah, keep it personal, keep it urgent. A big thing too. So this has been an ancient technique. This was in ancient Hellenistic texts as well, but it became much more popularized during the Renaissance with an astrologer named William Lilly. And so the nice thing about horary and the thing I really think is accessible about horary is, for example, my parents were born in Greece and they don't know their birth time. So, astrology for them is a little bit more challenging because I really only have a birth date to work with. With horary, I don't need to know anything. I mean, sometimes it's nice. It helps. I can always help. Like I can overlay your birth chart onto this and see maybe where there's like synastry that's happening too with the chart. But anybody can ask a question at any point in time. So I think that's really a nice part of horary. You don't need the full natal. And, you know, especially during that Renaissance time when people weren't noting their birth times, this was a valid form of astrology to go and ask an astrologer, you know, am I going to get married, or, you know, what's this relationship like, or any number of things that we all continue to still ask, you know, even in today's day and age. But so yeah, those are I hope that helps in terms of like, I mean, there's a wide breadth. The phrasing of a horary question is really important because it does affect the outcome. So this one, I was going to say this too, like, I accepted it. I would have talked to the person about it or pushed on her a little bit more, but I think it's okay. Anytime there's a should, most astrologers or horary astrologers will probably try to push you away from shoulds, because shoulds are free will it would be me encroaching upon your free will. So I didn't answer. Like, my judgment isn't, yes, this person should leave their job. All I can do with this question is say, here are the parameters. This is the context. This is what you're dealing with. This is what likely is going to happen. And now you get to decide. But I can't say, should you leave your job? That's up to you to decide. So generally try to avoid should questions. But I understand the intent of a should. So the should is there's obviously some kind of context, and like there's a question of, maybe leaving my job would be more advantageous to me at this moment in time. And then I can tell you in the context. So let's actually, maybe if you guys don't mind, let's maybe just jump into it and I can show you. I'm using this, I thought, I don't know, this is how my brain works. I'm like, oh, I'll be able to mark up the screen, and I don't know how to do it otherwise aside from this program. So, but I feel like it could be helpful. So the question, I noted this on Monday morning at 10:30 a.m. in my location. So should I leave my job? So instantly, the first thing we look at when someone asks a horary question, this is probably the most important thing. We're looking at the ascendant. Oh, why did it do that? So we're looking at the ascendant and the ascendant degree. So we don't want the ascendant to be in early degrees, and we don't want the ascendant to be in late degrees. Early degrees would have suggested, so if it's between 0 and 2:59, like 2 and 59 minutes, 3 would be valid. But if it's between 2 and up to 3, it would say that the situation is too fresh, too new. There's not enough information, so it's not the right time to judge this. Or it could mean that the person already asked the question once before, which happens sometimes, because there's like all these little tricks for the astrologer to know if, you know, because that's the thing too. It's like, you shouldn't ask the same question twice. There's so many like things like that now as I'm talking about, I'm like, oh, there's that I should have said, and I should have said that too. But and a late ascendant probably means that the situation has matured to such a point where it's like there's nothing that the querent, and that's what we call the ascendant, the person asking the question, the querent. There's nothing the querent can do. They just need to wait for time, because it's just the answer is probably gonna reveal itself shortly. So preamble aside, so we look at the ascendant and we see that Gemini's rising. So we go to the.
So that's 27 and up, correct?
27 and up, yeah. Sorry about that.
0 to 3 is too early. 27 to 30, or
20, yeah. 29, 59 is too late. So yeah, so here we go to the traditional rulers, and I factor in planets like Pluto and Neptune and Uranus into my assessment, but a traditional horary astrologer like William Lilly would not have. They just didn't know those planets existed. But now as a modern astrologer, obviously I know they're there, so I still look at them, but I don't use them as a ruler. So if Scorpio were to be rising, I would not use Pluto as the querent, I would use Mars. Okay, so we see Gemini's rising, so instantly we go to Mercury. So Mercury is now going to be descriptive of the querent, and that is who asked the question, the querent. That's the language of that. Sorry if I'm overemphasizing that, but and then we look to the planetary ruler of the ascendant to get a description of the querent. So in this case, Mercury in Pisces, and we know from our kind of traditional astrological assessments that Mercury in Pisces is a Mercury that's fallen and in detriment. It struggles. So Pisces is the opposite sign of Virgo, where Mercury exalts and rules. So in Pisces, he has a harder time expressing himself. He has a harder time being heard. being validated, being seen. Mercury also for, in this context of a 10th house, again, because this question is being asked about a career, is this person looked at as maybe a little bit more junior, or is there something going on where, again, Mercury is often associated with children. So being placed in the 10th house, which is what the question is about, is great. Like, that's a good thing. It means that the querent is like willing, able, wanting to find work. But the fact that her significator is a fallen Mercury and a Mercury in exile says that it immediately alerts me that there's some problems. So it sort of validates the question. So should I leave my job? We see now why she asked it, because there's clearly a struggle here. And granted, I only had like one question because from the intake box, but sometimes even just in the question itself, what you're trying to do is see that the chart makes sense. That the chart should answer the question, not just in terms of like what's going to happen predictively, but it should make sense. It should be descriptive of it. So instantly we see, yeah, it checks, it's valid. So then we go, so this is a 10th house topic question. We can't help but notice that Neptune's there too, suggestive of potentially deceptions in the workplace. Maybe something's not clear. The querent herself, Mercury in Pisces, is not feeling like, things are being communicated to her freely. So that is something we're just keeping in our minds. So then we go to the 10th house ruler. Again, a modern astrologer would have looked at Uranus. I don't consider Uranus in this case. I go to Saturn. So we have Saturn in the 9th house, and it's dignified and strong. So that means her job, the job she's asking about, should I leave this job? This job is very strong. So this job is overpowering. This job is doing just fine on its own. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they're much more commanding and in control of this situation, because by zodiacal dignity, Saturn is much stronger than our querent, unfortunately, in this case. So Saturn kind of has all the playing cards, if you will. So instantly what we do before we're even going to consider the moon is we're going to see, are these two guys connected? So, if, let's say for, example, she were to be the sun, they would have been performing a sextile to each other, because the sun in Aries would have been connecting to Saturn. But these guys are semi-sextile, which is not considered a major aspect. So it suggests, and like, let me see what I wrote in my notes. I think I had it somewhere, semi-sextile. Okay. It means she's not seen or regarded, but when she is, there's almost like this light half-heartedness. Like, I would have looked at this, again, looking at this chart, I don't think she's in, I wouldn't be like, you're about to be fired, but I would say that you're not regarded. Like, when they think of you in terms of a semi-sextile, it's kind of like a light shrug, that's kind of the vibe. It's like, yeah, oh, I know her, I like her, she's good, but it suggests a lack of people advocating for her, meaning Saturn is not, we can't see her. So the semi-sextile is an inconjunct. So when you think about it in terms of, and sorry if I'm over explaining things, but when you think of astrological aspects are about sight. So if someone's standing in my blind spot, which is what an inconjunct is, I can't see them, So it's like, but then it's like, if they do something that catches my eye, I'm like, oh yeah, they're there, they're fine. But like, I don't see them. So that's what this is instantly telling me. So again, further testimony that this job is not right for her. Like, there's something about this job that is just not connecting. Then we go to the other most important factor, which is the moon. So you want to see what house the moon is in and what sign it's in and what aspects it's making. Like, is it being afflicted in any way? Is it conjunct a malefic? In this case, it's not. Mars is over there. Saturn is not touching it. So moon's okay. Moon's strong in Cancer. It's fine. But we see the house that it's in. It's in the 2nd house. So again, that tells me as the moon is a co-significator, not only of the querent, but also of how the events are going to unfold. The moon has separated. So this is at 9 degrees, this is at 13 degrees. So the moon is moving away from little Mercury. And it says to me again, and now the moon is not making any more aspects. So all of these planets in Aquarius, it's not going to touch because those are inconjuncts. It's not touching any planets in Aries because it's already moved past them in conjunct here. So, and we're not looking at Pluto or anything like that. So the moon's void. And a void moon in a horary chart is saying there's no forward momentum here. Like nothing is happening. So because it's in the second house, my judgment of this chart is there's something to do with either potentially a self-esteem issue, a self-worth issue, or it could be a financial asset reason. Something to do with money is keeping the querent here. It could be that she needs this job financially. It could be that there's something to like something about money is saying is what's keeping the querent stagnant. And I would say, given the fact that it's void, of course, and there's no aspect between these two guys, and the moon is not doing anything, I would say to the querent, I don't see any kind of forward momentum at this job. I can't tell you whether or not you should or shouldn't leave. That's up to you. But I can also see that at this moment in time, you're not taking really any steps that you need in order to find a new job. So then it kind of goes back into your camp of, now that you know this information, what are you going to do about it? Because from an astrological perspective, there's no energy getting you out of this job. So should or shouldn't you leave is up to you. But what I can tell you is, if you're looking for a promotion, I don't see it coming. Maybe there's a finance issue that I don't know about, but that's something for you to consider. But unless you do something to kind of like take the reins, I don't see you leaving this job anytime soon. So I don't know if the person whose chart this is wants to add anything to it, if they're here, and if not, like, I understand this is getting publicly broadcasted, so if you don't want to say anything, please don't. But that would be my assessment of this chart and how I would look at it, and the way in which I would deliver this information back to the person, where, keeping their free will at the forefront. Everyone's, and like, once you get this information, that's how you can look at it as actionable. It's not fatalistic. It's not saying you can always change anything. Like, you can, we'll have other charts too, where it's like, is he going to, like, for example, is he going to call? And I say no. Well, now you can call him, you know what I mean? So it's just like, so now that you know what the most likely next sequence of events is, now you have the power and the control a little bit to do something about it. But now I've just laid out the kind of the birth chart, if you will, of your context at work, what's happening at work. And yeah. So if there's anybody who has any questions or wants to, question like either a judgment I made or an assessment I had or why I didn't look at something, I mean, please do feel free to interrupt. Otherwise, you guys are just going to hear me talking for a really long time.
So that was fantastic, Maria. So I just wanted to make sure. So this was Monica's question, right? Do I need to leave my current company? Is that the same
Yes.
one? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Monica, if you're here and you're willing to say something.
I am here. I forgot this was being live broadcast. But yeah, this is spot on. Especially as things unfolded this week. But yeah, and I actually just had a call earlier today about the fact that I have zero motivation for some reason as to take action as to like what my next steps are, given everything that's happened and figuring out what I want. If should I leave or should I stay? And the finance piece is definitely accurate. In terms of, I do need a job, I do need to work and pay those bills. So yeah, so it definitely is pretty spot on, Maria.
Well, I'm sorry that that's like happening. I'm trying to
find. Don't be sorry. I take comfort in the fact that, like, when I feel certain ways or when things are happening, that I can look to astrology to kind of understand the context of it, knowing that it will pass and things will change, or it gives me kind of direction of how to, like, now this is on me. Like, if I want to make a change, I need to figure out what's next. But everything that this reading is saying is completely spot on.
I'm just trying to find the chat and I don't see it. So I think it's probably just because I'm sharing, because I was going to say I can copy and paste this so everyone can kind of read it too at your leisure if you want, or I can send this out.
Well, why don't you send it to me and then I'll send it out with the email and the.
Perfect. That's what I'll do that at the end. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So that I can stop like.
So I picked 2 cards for Monica. So what do you need to know right now? And I picked the blessed card. So regardless of all this stuff that's going on, you are blessed. And the next right action is milk and honey. So to me, this says to, to go forth and look around, and that there's momentum for you to find something better. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say. So in addition to the horary lesson and judgment, you are also going to get Celeste, who's going to give you a card too. So I feel like that's like a nice extra little bonus to this. So yes. Thanks, Monica, for sharing too, and jumping on to talk about that as well. So yeah, let's maybe go to the next one. And this question came, discard. Okay, so will we make it as a couple? All right, so let me get this out of the way. So instantly what we look at is, again, we want to see the ascendant. That is Leo. Instantly.
Was this Laura's question about?
Oh, no, I think this was Luz's. It was like, will we make it as a couple? She's a Virgo.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the exact question. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So Leo rising tells us something about the querent too. So this is a querent who's probably like really, big hearted, maybe she's like, really vivacious, or at least she's feeling that way in this moment. Obviously the ascendant can change. It's not a natal, it's not a reflection, but we can definitely see that the querent is excited about something, just by having a Leo rising. She's wanting to be like, maybe making this relationship more public, putting it out there in the world. Like there's definitely clues that we're getting instantly just by the fact that Leo is rising. And then when we see, wow, she's got an exalted sun as her significator. It's conjunct Venus, so that conjunct a benefic. So definitely love is in the air in terms of our querent. She's definitely thinking about it, but she's also really strong. So like this is probably an exalted sun and Aries as her representative. She's probably feeling like really bold, wanting to take action, wanting to get out there, excited. So instantly this is telling me something about her. So in terms of relationships, we go right to the 7th house, and that makes Saturn our ruler here. So, and then we see Saturn is in his own house. So that also tells us some stuff about him, where I would wonder if they're having, like these are maybe 2 people who are very different, like maybe so Saturn in Aquarius, someone who's a little bit more airy, a little bit more aloof, maybe a little bit less. We've got our bold Leo exalted sun, like she's vivacious. And then we have someone who's Saturn in Aquarius. It would suggest to me that he's a little bit more closed off from his feelings. So instantly that tells me there might be some kind of disconnect in terms of their personalities. Also, he's in his own house. So I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe he said things like, I'm really focused on work right now, or I'm focused on myself, or, there's just maybe a little bit more. And, I do want to be careful because he's not here. And I don't know him, but so just in terms of like a teaching thing, when someone's in their own house, it just says to the astrologer that this person is very self-focused. Do I want to say he's selfish? No, I don't know him, but it just says that there's something on his mind that is keeping him kind of just focused on like, not necessarily like, this is not suggesting that he wants to be single. It's just someone who thinks a little bit more in terms of his own needs, or for whatever reason, whatever current context he's in, he has something that he's considering about himself first. So there's that to think about. Now we're looking at the moon. So I had asked this question a little bit later in the day on Monday from Monica's question. So this is a little bit in the afternoon. Now the moon has moved. It went from the 2nd house to the 12th house by the time I asked this question. So the 12th house is now telling us something, you know, is there some part of, and again, I'm looking for testimonies that either contradict or confirm. So we have this Aries, exalted Aries sun in the 9th house, where the sun, it has, you know, by tradition has its joy. The sun loves being in the 9th house. So this is somebody who, like, I don't know, maybe wants to travel. Like, part of me wondered if this was like a long distance relationship, or maybe they're not, you know, there's something about that. But this is somebody who like wants to be out there, like wants to go on vacation, wants to study things, wants to be like spiritually connected, you know, because that's what those 9th house topics. And then we have a 12th house moon. I don't know, is there some part of this relationship that feels hidden or unseen? It is a strong moon. It's still in its home sign, so that is a good indicator. But with the 12th house, it tells me there's a reason somebody's asking a horary question. So you are trying to identify what's the issue, what's happening, what is not keeping, you know, what prompted this question. So the fact that I understood this question and looked at it on the day of the moon and the hour of the moon does take on some extra significance in here. So if Luz was here, I would ask her, you know, to talk to me. I mean, as I was delineating this chart with her, I would ask her to talk about, you know, is there some part of this that's like, you know, what did I write here too? Like, is there an issue of seeing each other? So yes, I was like, are they not seeing each other? Are they on a break? Is there some kind of underlying or hidden tension in this coupledom? Because that's what the 12th house moon is telling me. But there is a lot of good news in this chart. So will they make it as a couple? Again, free will, you know, he has the free will to decide that, she has the free will to decide that. I can tell you what the indicators are and where it seems to be going. So instantly you want to look for, are the two significators connecting to each other in any way? Because if they're not, could suggest a breakup, especially potentially if they were separating. There's like, I have had to deliver hard news sometimes, which isn't always the funnest, but you know, it's your responsibility for taking the question. But in this case, the sun moves slower than Saturn. So the sun is applying, or it's trying to get to Saturn. It's taking a little bit of time. It's 8 degrees away. So the sun's at 2 degrees, Saturn is at 10, but that is viable. So it says to me that yes, like they definitely do have the ability to work together to make it as a couple. Like I could see some conversation, because it's an 8-degree orb, like maybe some conversation taking place in 8 days, 8 weeks, 8 months, some unit of time of 8. But it still suggests to me that because of that long gap of time, because of the 12th house sun, and because of the fact that like, there's a couple of things. So, and I don't want to get too like into the nitty gritty, but you also want to see the signs. So Saturn, there's something about this, there's something about both of them. This is how I'll put it. So there's something about both of them that they would need to adjust. So can they make it as a couple? The answer is yes. But the real question mark here is, would they both be willing to compromise certain things? I think there potentially, and again, I don't know if Luz is here, but there are some things in Luz's personality and some things in her boyfriend's personality that probably irritate each other. There's probably a personality disconnect somewhere, or just something that they would need to make some kind of adjustments in order to come together as a couple. But yes, like if they're both willing and able, the energy is there for them. So yes, this would be a good chart. I would just say work on whatever this underlying hidden issue is that they're not communicating with each other about, because that 12th house moon is trying to tell us something. And I guess it's up to them to figure out what it is and how to work it through.
Now, do you look at the aspects the moon is making, or? Yeah,
so in this case, the moon is same case. It's void. It's not doing anything. So, and it's in the 12th house. But the difference is, in this case, that's a great question. But this is okay, because in Monica's case, where Mercury was a significator, they're not connected, so they're not getting towards each other. But in this case, we have our two main significators in connection with each other. Okay. So then the moon's voidness is a factor, it is a factor, but they're still coming together. So yes, they are coming together, and that's a good thing. But the void moon in the 12th house says to me that the reason this question was asked is because of this. Like this is the crux of the problem.
Maybe they haven't said I love you yet or something.
Yeah, there's something. There's just something here that feels like unsaid, unspoken. So yeah.
Yeah. Luz, are you here? And if so, would you like to say anything? Yeah, so she might not be here. I pulled cards for her anyway. And so I pulled by the book in protection. So this calls for doing something radically different than the way it's been going before, and a leg up. So this to me says that, there's help out there. So maybe her and her boyfriend should talk to someone about the relationship, a counselor, a wise.
I feel like it fits with what I was trying to say and said it very slowly, but it's like there's something that they need to adjust. You know what I mean? Like doing something different than the way they've been doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's so good. And does anybody else have a question? Really cool. I love your analysis, Maria, of how you go through this.
Thanks. It's actually like fun. Like I actually do love getting horaries, just in general. So this next one is, should I reach out to my ex? And this was asked by B.
Great.
See that one, Celeste?
It was asked by D. Or
B, it's like the Zine Witch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You see that one? Yeah. So again, much like the first question, I wouldn't, again, like, granted, it's just an intake form and I'm not going to be, a total stickler. I get the question, like, should I reach out to your ex? I don't know. Should you? It's up to you. Like that's kind of what I would say to somebody. But the question of like, what will happen if I do, I can answer, or at least the horary can answer. So that's how I took the question of like, what will happen if I reach out to my ex? So much the same. We're looking at our rising sign. We're going to be looking at the 7th house because this is about an ex-boyfriend. So instantly we're looking here and we're looking at, where's my guy? There's Mars. So these are, and then of course the moon too. So we are looking at what's going on with them. What are they doing? So in this case, we have a Venus in Aries. We know or maybe we don't know, so I shouldn't say that. So Venus in Aries is a position where Venus struggles a little bit. She's not, it's a Mars ruled sign. It's opposite from her, nature. So I would ask B if she were feeling, maybe a little bit impulsive. Is she feeling like, wanting to take a risk, daring, maybe a little bit angry? Is there some kind of anger? She's in the 12th house. She's also combust. So, is there, and she's about to go through Cazimi, which is going to factor into this, my judgment. But, a 12th house sun, a 12th house Venus, is there something in this relationship that is secretive? Was it, I would ask this question, like, what's going on in the nature of this relationship? Was there some kind of angry outburst? Venus doesn't feel seen right now. So she's not feeling validated. She is not feeling appreciated. And then the Aries is again signaling to me there's some anger here as well. So what's interesting in this case.
Can you just explain, I don't think everybody knows combust, Cazimi.
Oh, sure.
Those terms.
Sure. So we'll get to Cazimi because it's going to factor into my judgment, but I will talk about combust now. So if you look at astrology is, based on astronomy too. So it's just like, if you think about, astronomically right now, Venus is so close to the sun and nothing can outshine the sun because the sun is the biggest star in our solar system. So when a planet is just by, the way it through orbit so close to the sun, you can't see it, like during certain points of the year, when like the sun is setting, you might spot Mercury or you might spot like Jupiter or Mars, and like you can see them like literally in the sky. But when Venus is so close, she can't be seen. So astrologically, we interpret that as its planetary significations are therefore unseen, unfelt, unappreciated, unable to manifest, because everything revolves around the sun. That's what astrology revolves around, is the sun and everyone's relationship to the sun, how fast they are, compared to the sun, how slow they are compared to the sun, where they are in relation to the sun. Like that's the basis of astrology. So in this case, when a planet is this close to the sun, it's just not able to manifest. So again, those Venusian sensibilities are just, maybe that, and then now that we're expounding on this even more, Celeste, so great question. Maybe she has like, think about Venus, like she's got a lot of love to give. That's what Venus wants to do. She wants to connect, and being combust, she can't. So like, maybe that's also adding to that anger, frustration. Like this is a frustrated querent. Like there is some real frustration here, and when it's like a Venus that's combust, it's probably because they feel that they have a lot of love to give and they have no place to give it. So, that does say it again, it just helps, and I think it's, part of Monica's assessment too. It's just like, sometimes I think any astrology reading, whether it's a horary astrology, which is more predictive, or a natal chart reading, what I'll think a lot of us want, and I think that's the magic of astrology, is that through the symbolism, we're able to like validate people's real lives and real feelings, and it's just like, and I think that is what taking this time, because I think the instinct when you see a horary chart is like, okay, what's the moon doing? Are they connected? Okay, is it a yes or is it a no? And it's like almost like rolling, what are those dice? Or like that magic 8-ball, like, is it, yes or no? Try again later. Like, and I think you can treat horary that way, but I think what's nicer about it is like really taking the time to look at the significators and really describe the situation, because it's really, I think it's really just like affirming and validating, not just for the astrologer, but particularly for the person receiving it. So great point to stop me on that, because I did just breeze over it. But yeah, there's a frustration here and an anger, and it is probably from not being able to express something Venusian. So then in the previous case, we saw, if you remember, we had Saturn ruling the 7th, and Saturn was in his own house. What's interesting here is that we have Mars ruling the 7th, but Mars is in her house. So that was like, what's that about? Because like, usually when somebody is in somebody else's house, like that person, like, think about it. Like if I have somebody over, I'm in charge, it's not like, you don't have a guest and like suddenly they're sleeping in your master bedroom. Like if you think about it, and like, William Lilly described it more eloquently than I am right now, but like, you're in my house, you know what I mean? These are my rules. So that's interesting to me. So I'm just like, so she's frustrated at not being able to be seen, or maybe that's been a while since they've seen each other. They are exes, but this suggests to me there's something going on here. You know what I mean? Like he could feel like, I think the word I described is like, is he under her spell? Like there's something where it's like, he is interested, or maybe he's looking at her or watching her social media or something. There's something where she does have more power in this situation than she might realize. Is my instant clue at seeing that. I'm like, oh wow, that's really interesting. Another thing I want to look or talk about. So the moon, again, it's now, because it's later, it's the next day when I looked at this the following morning. And for once, like, usually as an astrologer, I know where everything is at every point in time because I'm constantly looking at the charts. But like this whole week, I tried really hard not to be like, because sometimes I even know what the ascendant is just because I'm just so always looking at charts. But this whole week, I really tried hard not to know where the moon was and what was happening so I could come to this a little fresher. But what's interesting to me is that now, yes, the moon is in late degrees, but it's not void according to horary astrology standards. So, and I don't want to get too, because maybe this is a little bit, it's not advanced, but like, I don't want to get like, I don't want to be boring is basically what I'm getting at. But the moon has an orb, meaning its rays extend 12 degrees. So it's already, because now it's going to pop into Leo, and Leo is going to trine Aries. So it actually is already, it's in a trine aspect with Venus already. So that's interesting to me. However, another interesting thing about this chart in horary is the angles are super, super important. So we got Pluto on the midheaven. So I would talk to my person and I would just be like, what's that about? You know what I mean? Because it's like, that suggests like, did they have some kind of, I don't know, plutonic relationship that was like, and the fact that it's the 10th house says it's out in the public. So it's like, what was about something plutonic about this relationship must have been a marker, or at least that's how other people saw it or would describe it as. So it's like the fact that she's in the 12th house too says to me that this relationship was probably maybe deeply upsetting, or something happened, or like maybe some kind of like karmic relationship where something must have come up with this breakup and like brought them together for a reason. And the breakup probably kicked up a lot of things. I would say, especially for the querent, but even for him, he's in her house too. So this is a deeply intense, or was a deeply intense relationship. First clue. The other thing is, so what's opposite that? We've got the moon on the IC, and the IC is like the hidden part of our chart. So if the midheaven is the thing that everybody sees, the IC is the thing that, or the nadir is the thing nobody sees. It's the thing only you see. So it's like, but it's you've got a domiciled moon. So I'm just like, what's that about? Like, were there a lot of deep feelings that were underneath the surface that were not expressed? So again, wouldn't make that judgment all the time, but I would because of the 12th house and because he's in her house. So it's like, what hidden feelings are kind of brewing underneath this? So I would say there's something that the querent, my gal Venus, wants to express. She's feeling frustrated by not being able to do that. The fact that the moon is moving towards her says that she will likely be the one that reaches out and can say something to him. But we can't ignore the fact that this moon has to change signs in order to reach that trine, so something needs to change, whether it's her approach, whether it's her emotions, because like, again, we know Aries, Venus, probably someone who's feeling a little like irascible, if you will. So I would counsel her that yes, I can't say should you reach out to your ex, it's up to you. The energy is there for you to do it. The fact that he's in your house suggests there might be some receptivity on his part from receiving a message from you, but there's something you need to adjust. And I think it could be some kind of hidden feelings that you're not expressing, because the fact that the moon and Pluto are on the angles in an opposition with each other, and the moon, even if I was William Lilly and I wasn't even looking at Pluto and I was just looking at the moon on the IC and the fact that it needs to change signs, I would say there's something here in terms of your emotions or your approach that you should reconsider, think about before you make that next step. But when you're ready to do that, there's openness. And yeah, you might actually find some like healing from doing it. So yes, that was my long judgment. But yes, that's what I would say to this person. Oh, I can't hear you, Celeste. Is it?
That is amazing. I was on mute. Is she here? B, are you here? Oh, maybe not. But I pulled 2 cards for her. So what does she need to know? Regeneration card. There are second chances.
Wow.
What is the second card? The next best action is imagine. So really think about what you want out of this relationship. You have some time as it needs to change signs. Think about, imagine what you can change. And it's a Neptune card, the manifestation card. So I think they might have a chance to come back.
Reconcile. There's something that I think there's something left unsaid that needs to be said.
Plutonic regeneration, the birth, death, cycle. I love it. I love it. Now I'm going to stop recording because we're coming up to an hour, and then I'm going to start again because I want to make sure you can.
Celeste, oh, sorry, I'll let you stop it and then I'll say
yeah. So I stopped it. Let me see. I think you might have to stop sharing before I can start recording again. Okay. Okay. So you can keep going and let me know how much. I mean, we're at an hour, but Maria has said
I mean, and I started by saying, guys, I talk so fast and I don't feel like I'm talking so slow. And like, there's like a lot more questions. So again, I am not taking it personally if anyone feels like, they need to drop off. Like I'll answer as many questions, and Celeste, I don't know how long you can go.
Just keep going. I'm just fascinated. I'm learning so much.
Okay. But yes, like no one feel bad. And also I do see, like, now that I can see there's like there's questions. I can take a second to like look through them, or have we answered them?
Yeah, I know Erin had a question, and this one might be a good one to do now because I did my own horary chart for her question. So
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. And then it gives me a break to stop talking for a second.
Yeah, do you want me to pull up the chart first? Or do you want...
Wait, you did the chart, right? I didn't look at Erin's chart.
Oh, you did not look at it. Okay, that's right, because I told you I pulled up the chart. Okay, so let me...
I mean, I'll look at it as we're going through too, and if I have something.
Yeah, but you're going to have to talk me through this. I'll tell you, like, my hot takes, but this is something that I come up against when I'm doing horary. Okay, so can you see that? Is that big enough?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I pulled it on the 25th at 10:56 p.m. from where I am. So the first thing I notice is that Scorpio is on the ascendant, but it's not in via combusta, right?
The traditional horary astrologers would say only the moon matters in terms of via combusta. The ascendant can be via combusta. That's okay.
Okay. And so via combusta just means between 15 Libra and 15 Scorpio.
Yeah.
Okay, so you say only the moon matters. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is in via combusta, but it doesn't mean we can't answer the chart, or it's okay.
Yeah, and I should say her question so everybody knows, because it's not written there. And it is, I believe, will I ever dance professionally again? But let me read will I work as a dancer again as we come out of the pandemic is the question. Okay. So Mars is ruling. Mars stands for Erin, who is the dancer. And I would say that the 10th house, because this is her career, right? Is this where we're looking?
Yes.
Okay. And the 10th house is in Leo. So to describe her being a Scorpio, transformational, someone who's really intense and intensely passionate about her career is how I would describe that. It's almost like it's part of her soul to be a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that speak to you? And it gives her an opportunity to shine, with Leo being on the midheaven as being her career. It's ruled by the sun. So we're looking at Mars and the sun for the answer. Is that okay? And so Mars is in the 7th house. And I don't know, does this have any special significance? It's not in the house, the 10th house. It's more in the house of the partner or the business relationship or something like that. What would you say about Mars being in the 7th?
I would definitely ask that question to the querent. I would say, like, is there somebody, a partner, or in this case, like maybe it's professional, like it could be like somebody, like a business, it could be a business partner, it could be a romantic relationship or something like that. But I would say, like, there's somebody who you are kind of answering to, or at least has control over you, or is factoring into this decision. Like somebody is weighing in on your ability, it feels like, or somebody could potentially help, but you are definitely in the terms of somebody else. Like, so there's another person that's factoring into this decision as well. It's not just you.
Okay. And does the fact that Mars is in Gemini also factor in on it being a mutable sign? Things are unstable or unsteady?
Yeah, but less about the situation and more about her. Like, is she going back and forth? Is there something where, maybe she feels non-committal or questioning, or there could be, it would be more descriptive of her,
Oh.
so, because that's her significator. So again, I would just ask her, is there something like you know, what potentially beyond just the pandemic, because I think we all, know that that's, the reality of right now, but is there something internally that you're wrestling with or thinking about or having two minds about?
Yeah.
Or frustrated by, so Mars and Gemini, it's not just Mercury and Gemini, it's Mars and Gemini. So, do you feel like you're starting and stopping, coming and going, like, you start one thing and then you're like, no, like I want to do something else, like a feeling of like putting your eggs in like one basket, or a frustrating, and then getting frustrated and being like, oh no, I'm going to scrap that and try something else. Or like one day wanting it, the next day not, like are all potentials. But again, I don't believe in astrology as like, like a BuzzFeed quiz. Like I'd ask her, like, how are you feeling about this stuff? But those would be thematics I'd at least bring up and ask if that's how she was feeling.
Okay. And I did it totally unintentionally, but I asked the question when Venus and the sun
I saw that. That was the first thing I saw. I was like, oh my God.
So a Kazemi is within 18 minutes, right? On either side.
Yeah, but I mean, this one is like exact.
Exact. So, I mean, I think that means something too. So the sun being in the fifth house of joy, being in Aries.
And a creative, so she's a dancer, right? So
Yes,
this is creative. It's a creative field. The fact that Venus is Kazemi, this is the only other thing that I would potentially ask about. So the thing is, so it's like Venus is a factor in this chart. And the other thing too is that the sun and Mars, meaning the sun, and I'm pointing at my screen like you guys can see what I'm pointing at, but the sun meaning the 10th house and Mars being the querent, they are connected. They're connected by a sextile. So I would tell the querent that, yeah, like you will, like, but Venus is like such a heavy factor into this chart that we would look at the houses that Venus rules. So our instinct is like, is there something partner related, because Venus rules the 7th house, but then there's also Venus ruling the 12th. It's not speaking to me in any kind of way, but the Venus also rules the 11th house. So is there some kind of association, partnership, coworker? There just feels like there's another person here. And this other person it could be a help. I do actually, because it's a Kazemi. So like, this is a great thing in terms of like Venus's ability to help. So I would, again, ask the querent, like, is there something more than just the pandemic here? Like, I just would want to know, like, because also the other thing is beyond just the sun and the moon, the sun and Mars connecting, the moon is also connected to, it's a wide orb, but it is going to square Mars as well. So there's a lot of energy here that is suggesting yeses. Like you've got two yeses. So like, that's great. Like the answer is yes. We want to know like how we're going to go about that. So I'm looking majorly at Venus, whether it's a friend, whether it's like a lover or a partner, a husband, a wife, a business partner, a colleague, somebody like in some kind of dance association. This person is very heavily factoring in. And I would suggest, again, not knowing the full context of this scenario, I would suggest that they do like reach out or think, or I would ask them, like, is this resonating at all? Because Venus is major in this chart.
Wow, that's really good. So, okay, now the midheaven and the fact that the moon is in that house and conjunct,
yep.
Does that add extra meaning to the emotionality of the situation, or?
And not just the emotionality, but also it's auspicious, so the moon again as like the significator of like next sequence of events, like the fact that it's about to conjunct the midheaven, like, and it's actually, you have 3 yeses in this chart. So the answer is yes. Like, I feel pretty confident, like saying that, like, I actually like, when I do make judgments, like yes or no's, because some questions are yes or no's, you never want to whiff. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to hedge your bets and be like, maybe, like because like, well, how's that helpful? You know, like, so in this case, I'm willing to bet the house. Like, yes, yes, you will.
Now, I have a question I don't understand, and maybe this is something I'm getting wrong. So the moon is going to square Mars.
Squares are not always bad. And like that is like a thing that I think should be corrected about. And I see it a lot in horary texts, like especially online, but you know, they say like a square and an opposition equals a no, and a trine or a conjunction, maybe a sextile equals a sextile is a maybe, and a trine and a conjunction is a yes. I've seen that a lot. And it's just not true. Because you know, again, and the way that I've learned to practice horary, things are not just like black and white, yes or no's. Like that's why you're setting up the whole story, and you're putting the power back into the person's hands to like make the control. So like nothing is like absolutely and nothing is definitely not. Things are more like, yes, it's very, very likely, or like, no, it's probably not going to happen, you know, but then what do you do with that information? So when it's a yes, you can probably just like, you can sit back in some cases because like the chart is just saying like it's coming to you. But in this case, I do feel like it's a yes, but it's also saying there's some kind of whatever Venus represents in this chart. It could be a woman, but it could be a partner. And again, I don't know, you know, if this person is married to a man or a woman. Like the gender is not necessarily important. It's just saying some Venusian person, representative of like the things I described before, a colleague or a business partner or a romantic partner, is somehow factoring into this decision, and can be of help in this case. So yes, it's a yes, but it's a yes of, you know, connect, like find that whoever that person is going to help and or support in some way in this case.
Wow, that is so cool. Well, Erin is here, so let's ask her. Let me stop sharing. Talk.
I unmuted.
Yeah, go ahead, Erin. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is really exciting. Yeah, other than the pandemic, you know, I am getting older in the ballet world or dance world, and then, you know, just struggling with that general self-doubt or you know, if I'm good enough and stuff. So that Gemini stuff spoke to that. No, it's not like any romantic thing involved, but there was like a new choreographer I was going to work with before the pandemic. And then because of that, we lost touch, and I've been thinking to reach out to see what's going on. So this kind of is giving me that extra push to do so. So
good. And I'm just curious, like our dance, like, is it opening back up? Like,
so slowly, like people are getting creative and renting spaces, but like large groups or the class, like even like saying like I need to get back in better shape. Like the studios we would go to take classes are all still closed. I think they're about to start opening them at limited capacity, but it's also slow and strange. And like there's like probably going to be, there was no funding before, and there's probably going to be a lot of lag with that as well. So it's just all, I think that's also going with my in between of like, should I be looking for something else until, yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah.
But I do think that partner can help. So
yeah,
definitely reach out.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. That's so fascinating.
That is so cool. Yes. And so the first card I pulled for you is clean it up. So are there things that you need to work on to clean up? Let me read the message. When it's in protection, I like to do a quick read. Yeah. Now are you focusing on someone else too much rather than yourself right now and what you need to do around the
I don't know if it's anyone in particular, but maybe just thinking about too many other things.
Yeah.
I don't see myself being distracted by someone in particular right now.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
maybe I'm like seeing other people who are doing well and needing to like catch up. Maybe I'm doing that to myself, you know?
Maybe. I would have thought that would have been more if you were in the 11th house, but you were in the 7th house. So that just says like there's somebody else that. But I mean, it's your life.
Yeah.
You know your life better than I do.
Maybe I'm just not thinking about it right now, but.
Well, think about clean it up and then building blocks. So putting the foundation down as you move forward. So definitely reaching out to this choreographer, I think, is a good idea. Just touch base.
And getting back in shape.
That's what clean it up is. That's what clean it up is, getting back into your dancing shape. So maybe start working now on that.
Definitely.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Yeah, so Maria, let's do who's here first.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. So let me look at the ones that I answered. I know I can, hang on, I just want to make sure I see everybody because there's some people's names that I recognize and then some people's that I don't. I don't think Mackenzie is here. She had a question about a missing item. We did that one. We did that one. I have a question of, so she's not here, missing photo. I have 3 questions left. One is about a boss who's micromanaging, one about I applied for 3 jobs, and one about a boyfriend who is lying.
Yes, so I know Angela's here is the jobs, and I think Laura's here is the boyfriend. So let's do those 2 and see where the last question, if they're here as well.
Okay, so the micromanaging boss is not here?
She is here.
Okay. Because
Are you still here? I think so.
I was gonna say, Laura, once we'll get to your question too.
Yes,
I was like, oh no. I was like, no. I'm Laura, your chart is, it's gonna be fun to talk about.
Okay, yeah, do Laura first. I don't know, Angela was here, but maybe she had to drop off. But
Okay.
Angela, if you're here, drop something in the chat.
Okay, so micromanaging boss is not here, and will I get the job is not here either.
I don't know. Will I get the job? Let's see who.
There was I applied for 3 jobs.
That one's mine.
Okay,
Oh,
so they're
Tracy,
both-
okay, then perfect. So we were talking about Laura, so we'll do that. So then we have 2 more charts, and then I can just open it up to general questions at the end. So then maybe we'll only go until 8:30 because I think it's nice to I don't want you guys to feel like, oh my God, I have to be here all night listening to Maria talk about horary. So let's aim for 8:30 because that's about 90 minutes, and I think that's good. All right, so let me start sharing my chart. Oh, sorry, I said I was do Laura. So Laura, I do have some caveats with yours, only because it's a charged question. He's not here. And then so let's get into it. Hang on, let me start sharing my screen.
Yeah, this is a good one. Is my boyfriend lying to me about his intentions?
I mean, a good one, but it's I'm definitely in the. I felt like I was in the hot seat. I was like, oh God.
Feelings for me just to keep using me.
Okay, so instantly I thought it was I kind of laughed when I saw this chart. I'm not laughing at you, but I was just I laughed because it's the horary just wants you to know. Here's another thing I'd a little lesson too. The chart, and I didn't go through all of the nitty gritty because we literally would be here for weeks if I did, but or at least hours. But there's rules, and then there's things too, I had said earlier and I breezed over it, but something that happens is, and Laura did not do this, but I can be long-winded, so forgive me for that. But something that happens sometimes is you'll get a horary answer and you don't like it. So you go to another horary astrologer. And the thing is, it's you can maybe get away with it because the moon is going to be in a different spot. So what was before a no is now suddenly a yes. But the thing is, you can't trick the horary gods. And that is who, I believe, and that's what we're all, I think, are here because we believe that this is divinatory, and the word divinatory means divine. So you are communicating with the divine here, so it's they are giving you a glimpse. So you're not tricking them. You know what I mean? So it's you might get a yes the second time, but it's the first no is still valid. So there's all these things that you would look for in a chart. So it's as you get more trained in horary, you can tell when somebody asks the same question twice. Some things just won't make sense. And the reason this is up here too, and I actually ended up cutting the screenshot. There's way more information about how fast the planets are moving. There's zodiacal dignity and all of that. Cause I'm just no, but we just need to know this. But even the hour is important too. So before I start any chart, I don't just I don't just dive right in, actually. I first see if the chart is radical. So you want to make sure that the chart is fit to be read. Like that would, I mean, that's a little bit like Renaissance language, but like, is this chart, can I answer this question? You know, like, should I answer this question? And so, yes, Laura, your chart is radical. Like there's like, I won't go into all the techniques as to like why, like, you know, why I did it. So yes, your chart is radical and it was fit to be read. So I'm like, all right, let's read this thing. But it's like, again, I'm just telling you my own discomfort of like, oh gosh, like, you know, am I getting into your relationship? Like, you know, like, I'm just being honest. I was just like, and he's not here. So it's like, am I going to call him a liar too? Like, okay. So getting all that aside, because I mean, I would have been honest with you privately and been like, ooh, maybe there's like, is there another question you really want to ask? Like, or whatever. But here we are. So instantly, the first thing we notice is this. I mean, before I even looked at Mercury, I was like, oh, wow, you've got Mars on the ascendant. Like that instantly tells me like you are probably mad. Like you're probably feeling very martial. So like, what is Mars? Like Mars is frustrated. Mars is pissed off. Mars is, I don't know, itching for a fight. And the fact that you are Mercury, also you're conjunct Neptune. So we're going to get into that too. But you guys just, oopsies, why did that happen? You guys just squared each other. So this says to me, there was probably a fight recently, right? Like, I don't know, but I would assume there was some kind of big argument that just happened because your significator is now, and it's like, and there's something on your ascendant that's not you. So if like Mercury on your ascendant, that's a little bit different, but this is Mars on your ascendant. So this just says to me, big fight, you're mad. And yeah, the chart's radical. Like, it's like definitely something is going on here. We're also talking about a malefic, Mars in Gemini. You know, I'm not going to get too personal here. I dated someone who had Mars in Gemini. It's like, I mean, I'm not saying your boyfriend probably doesn't have Mars in Gemini, but it is indicative of people who are loose with their words. So you could call that a liar. I'm not calling it a liar. Yeah, someone who like says double speaks. So again, radical, like this chart. And when I say radical, that's just the Renaissance language to say, yes, like the testimony is check, 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 check. So I'm just uncomfortable calling somebody I don't know a liar. That's why I'm equivocating so much, because I'm just like, oh, I don't love doing this, especially publicly. But yes, there's indicators here that there's like double speak happening, that there's one thing being said, maybe one thing being done. That's just Mars and Gemini. That's what Mars and Gemini does. So we look now that again, so we just look at you in this case are Mercury. Mercury's in Pisces. We talked about that in the first chart. Mercury in Pisces is somebody who, you know, I would ask you, like, are you maybe not saying everything that needs to be said? You likely feel unheard. You likely feel like it doesn't matter what I say because I'm just like not able to communicate properly, because that is like, you know, Mercury in a water sign. Beyond just being, you know, Mercury in a water sign is considered, you know, by Hellenistic standards or ancient standards, mute. Like just meaning, it doesn't mean that Mercury doesn't speak. It just means that Mercury is not able to communicate as effectively as like trying to talk underwater, you know, like how effective can you be and how much can a person understand you? So there is a situation where you're in the 10th house. It's a very visible house. You may be feeling like beyond frustrated and angry because, you know, you have this person that you suspect is lying to you, and it kind of doesn't matter what you say. You kind of can't change the situation. In this case, he's interesting to me too, and I do want to talk to you about him. So we look at the 7th house. So that's Sagittarius. He's ruled by Jupiter. And he's right on the midheaven. So, I mean, again, and I don't know your boyfriend or what he's like, but it would be somebody, so Jupiter, absent of the sign of Aquarius, but Jupiter on the midheaven is somebody who's very vivacious, very bold, very out there. Like this is somebody who's like living large. Like if you told me he was a celebrity, I'd be like, yeah, probably. Like for Jupiter to be on the midheaven, like it's just somebody who like is like in the public eye. Like maybe he's like big on social media. I don't know, but it's just like whatever he's doing, he likes to be seen. Maybe he's like a little bit of, it's not like peacock, but it's just somebody who is a little bit more out there, somebody who maybe like wants people to talk about them, you know, I would just say living large. The fact that it's an Aquarius tempers that a little bit. Like, I don't think it's like quite, again, it's not peacock, but it's just somebody who's a little bit likes to be seen, wants to be known. And there's a couple of things that I want to talk about too. So, okay, we're going to get to the moon too, but because we can't ever forget the moon. So he, in this case, is not connected to you, but you're both in the same house. So you're in different signs and you've separated from each other. And I don't mean in terms of, I just mean zodiacally, astrologically, you've separated from each other. I don't mean in real life. So it's like, there's nothing that you're not connected at the moment in terms of like, is there, you know, you guys are in, you know, conjunction or something like that, but that's not really what your question is about. Your question is about, is he lying to you? So it says you guys are in the same house. So you're still like, but you are conjunct Neptune. You're not maybe able to see this situation completely clearly, but you're applying to a planet of, could be considered deceptions too. So you're, again, we're looking for testimony. I'm so uncomfortable with saying like, yes, your boyfriend's a liar, but like you are conjuncting a planet that is not like can be deceptive, foggy, you know what I mean? So you don't have the full information, whatever, you know, you may suspect he's lying, but whatever the truth is a little bit elusive to you right now. And it might be for a little bit of time is basically what I'm trying to get at. He is trying you. So I don't actually see, you know, because sometimes a question is like, okay, so my boyfriend's lying to me. Are we going to break up? I don't think he wants to. Like, I don't see that necessarily happening. You guys are in a direct trine. So you're at 19, he's at 22. Sorry if this is a little bit of astro technicalities, but again, I see you guys continuing, like a trine is a good aspect. I continue to see a relationship there. So now we want to see what,
using me.
What's up?
The question is he going to keep using her? So with that context.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, there's the moon, and what the moon is going to do is pretty interesting here. So it's doing a couple of things. So it's going to square, and I don't know why I'm drawing like this, but oopsies. It's going to square Mars, and then it's going to oppose you. So I do think there is a fight coming. I think the question of like, is he going to continue to use you? Like, you guys are in the same house. So yeah, like I don't see anything separating you. He's trining your ascendant. I think he's fine with the situation as it is. Like, and I guess part of that is if somebody is using you, why would they stop using, you know what I mean? Like, why would they stop? Like there's nothing to stop that person from doing it, but it does seem like so the question then is now on you. And the fact is the moon is not connecting to him. Like the Virgo and Aquarius have no relationship, but Virgo and Pisces do. The moon is going to square Mars, suggests to me a fight. I'm hoping I'm not the cause of this fight. And then it's going to oppose you. So there is like a confrontation likely that is going to occur in the probably, so like you won't, probably in like the next week or so, I would say, like a week or two. And you can definitely get back to me on that. But if the question is going to continue to use,
give the timing.
Oh, so yeah. So I'm looking at like the degrees. So you have the moon at 6, you have Mercury at 15. Like my quick math is terrible, but what's that? It's like,
oh, like 9 days, you're saying.
9 days. Yeah. So a week or two, you know, or it could be 9 hours. I mean, it could be, it could be 9 hours. I don't know if it's 9 hours.
9 minutes after she gets off this Zoom.
We could end this call right now and you could give him a call and tell him what you think. But here's the thing, like, and again, I don't know your situation. I actually have never met you. I don't know your boyfriend. I do, and I'm publicly stating this, I don't feel comfortable calling people liars that I don't know, and I don't know the full context of what the lie is even about. So I don't know. All I can say is that yes, like there's something that you're not aware of. You've got Mars and Gemini that suggests some kind of duplicity. It could. You've got you conjunct Neptune, a planet you are heading towards feeling like not being able to see clearly on something, or not having the full facts, or there's something that's being hidden, you know, misting, like that's what all of the significations of Neptune. You've got the moon applying to this argument. You've got the moon applying to oppose you, and you've got him who just seems fine. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like there's like all this stuff happening in your head. Like, and I don't mean it's happening in your head. I'm not gaslighting you. I just mean that all this stuff is like swirling for you. But I think he's going to continue to be fine with things just how they are until you bring a fight to him, is how I look at this chart. So
that's amazing.
I can stop sweating now.
So Laura, I mean, if you want to speak up, if you don't, I understand, because this is very personal and probably not great to hear. But
I'm
yeah.
here if I can chime in.
Oh yeah, please tell us.
Can you see me? Okay.
Yes.
I don't see myself here, so okay. Hi, you guys. First of all, thank you very much for taking the time, Maria, to do this for us, and you know, Celeste for bringing Maria here, and also you pulling the cards and everything. I'm just so grateful. And yes, you are so on point. I was just laughing the whole time because, first of all, because of the fact that you didn't want to call him a liar, but in my mind I was like, he's already a liar, so don't even bother, you know, feeling guilty about it. I just, and first of all, this is not like I asked someone already. I mean, I did discuss this with my therapist, and you know, a therapist is never going to tell you, oh yeah, he's lying. First of all, because they don't know for sure.
Right.
And even though my therapist is kind of like an intuitive healer also, and she does sometimes have the answers, she doesn't like, you know, telling me up front. She's more like, you have the answers in yourself. You know, you already know about this. And I'm like, I know, but I want some validation of some sort. You know what I mean? So it's not like I asked the question already. I did, you know, treat this topic with my therapist, and she said, you know already deep in your heart what's going on. You just don't want to, you know, you want to keep believing him somehow because you're attached emotionally to him, and that's what's happening. And so that's why the moon is there, like opposing my mind, you know, like, yes, my feelings are there and they just want to remain, you know, in the relationship. But my mind and my thought process is like, you already know about this. You know that he's lying. And yes, I know there's a lot of information that I don't know. So completely on point with that Neptune there. And I think I'm never going to find out this information. And actually, when you talked about the fact that, you know, there's something that I maybe like a second question, you know, like deep down. Yes, because this lying, the fight already happened. This is going on right now. You know, we had a fight yesterday, and we had a fight the day before, and we're just like, you know, at odds right now. He is completely that Jupiter. They're like, oh, babe, but you know, like chill, like forgive me. I know I don't communicate well, whatever. And he's continuing to use this narrative for me to believe him and keep, you know, moving the relationship forward. But in my mind and in my heart, I know there's something going on. And the second question behind all of this is that I think there's something going on with his friend, and it's a male friend. So this for me is like, is he actually, you know, gay? Is he cheating on me with his best male friend? You know, he's heterosexual, according to what he says to me, and I'm heterosexual too. And he has this male friend that's his best friend. And from the beginning of the relationship, I started feeling like there was something going on there that they were not talking about, you know, to anybody. And so I don't know if this is too much of a weird intuition of mine, right? Who's to tell? And if it's the truth, and if it's gay, it's okay. I'm actually super, you know, an advocate of the LGBTQ community. But the thing is that, why are you lying? You know, if this is who you are, I totally support you. And I even want to, you know, be with you on this. But why, you know, keep being with me if this is who you truly are inside. No, and the thing is that I am very supportive of him financially. Like, he's going through a period right now where he's not seeing money, where he's, you know, struggling in all areas of his life. And I'm here supporting him and, you know, giving him what he needs. I don't want him to, you know, be short of food or whatever, you know what I mean? And so I think he's taking advantage of me. And you know, at the same time, this is happening with his friend. And I confronted him about it, like in a jokey kind of way, like, oh, come out of the closet, you know, I'm here for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Just joking kind of thing, because he posted a picture that was funny in that kind of way. And he was like, oh, you hurt my ego, you know, what do you mean? Like, defensive. And that just tells me also that, you know, when you're defensive about something in such a radical way, like, wow, and he stopped talking to me, like that was a fight about. And so that's something that also tells me, you know, if he's so defensive about it, it's because he has to touch a nerve, you know? So, you know, all of this is in my mind a lot, like you said, a lot of this is only going in my mind.
So the thing, so there's like a lot, and in terms of like, I can't answer that question of like whether or not he's gay, because it's not my business, and like he didn't ask the question, so like the chart won't even tell me even if I tried. But is something that I did want to at least mention in terms of what you just said. So the other thing, and I wrote this down actually in your notes, and I can send them to you afterwards, or I'll send them out with Celeste.
Please do.
But the thing is, and you know, it's always, so you have also Mars on your ascendant. So that says to me something about maybe like there's a caution for you too, like to maybe be a little bit gentler with your words. So like Mars cuts, like, you know, and in Gemini, it cuts with words. And so I'm not lecturing you or anything, but it's just like, you might be using your words to hurt him too. You know what I mean? So it's like, could potentially be lying because that's Mars and Gemini, but maybe your words are also hurting him. So it's like, there's a lot happening in this chart. So it's just like,
I know I was a little bit harsh with him, even if it was in a jokey kind of a way, but I'm just so exhausted from all of this,
totally.
you know, like that it's just wanting to get an answer from him one way or the other, because I've tried the subtle way, and I've tried, you know, talking about how open I am with these kind of situations and how supportive I am, and, you know, that I'm here no matter what, and, you know, like tried, but he's still not, you know, coming forward or anything. I don't know if it's because it's not the case. It could be, I don't know, but at the same time, it gets so frustrating that, you know, I have Mars in Gemini in my natal chart, so
okay, so yeah.
So it's definitely, like you said, it's definitely like, you know, I just want to, you know, get to the point and skip this duality at the same time, you know, that's in me. So it's like, I just want to, you know, take one side and know what it is for real. But
Laura,
yes.
I'm going to stop you there because we want to get to the next question.
I know. I'm sorry. That Mars and Gemini talking a lot.
You have gotten your answer from this chart, and I said, and people read the comments. People are telling you trust your intuition, and
Yes.
I pulled a leg up is what you need to know. So a leg up, it speaks to someone here to help you. So to me, this speaks to what your therapist told you about, you know, inside. And the next one is co-create. So co-create is a manifestation card. This is your next best action. And it speaks to co-creating with spirit, like your higher power, and, you know, doing what you need to do to connect to your higher power for that intuition, and you need to make your decision if you're going to stay with him or not. But I think you have everything you need to know about the situation from the chart, your intuition, your therapist, yourself, and the cards.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll stop sharing my microphone and my video. Thank you.
Okay, so then we've got one last chart, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but or it's the will I get one of the 3 jobs that I applied for.
That's
Tracy. That's me.
Oh, Tracy. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay, so Tracy. So again, This is a great question. I mean, it's a perfect horary question. I wouldn't have asked you in my intake, you know, if you had reached out to me about this. But my only clarification would be, you know, just some context, and you don't have to give it to me now because I do want to just take you through how I did it without knowing that. But I was wondering, like, and I would have asked you, like, how long have you been out of a job? How many jobs are you, like, what is your situation? Like, how many are you applying for? Or like, even do you currently, you don't currently have.
No, I'm currently in a job now. So I'm just.
Okay. But you're just wanting to get out and you want to know if any of these three. Okay. Okay. So that's good context. It doesn't change anything. It just helps me in terms of, you know, being able to, like, not say, like, it just keeps me focused from saying, like, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. So here we go. You are Venus. Oops, why does it do that? Okay, so you're Venus. So then that instantly brings us, and again, you've got something very auspicious happening here. You've got that Venus Cazimi. And so Cazimi, Celeste mentioned it earlier too, where anytime Venus is in the same degree, so she's tightly Cazimi. I think even as we speak, she might have just separated, but they're still in the same, like, numerical number. So it still counts. So that's really auspicious. Like, that's great. Like, I mean, you couldn't have, like, Cazimi is like when a planet, as we talked about earlier in terms of the combustion, they've been so closely tied to the sun. Like, they feel like the sun's rays are just like, I can't outshine this guy. Like, he's just bearing down on me. And Cazimi is like that moment of, like, the gauntlet, like, has been thrown down. They're walking through, it's like that fire walk. It's like they're going through the heart of the sun and they're going to come out like a phoenix. Like, they're reborn, rebirthed, and, like, now they're going to be able to be seen again. So again, it just was interesting how often this happened with the charts this week, how often Venus came up in this 12th house. So is there a situation now in your current job where you are feeling maybe like under the thumb of somebody? And I asked that too because you've got Pluto on the midheaven. So do you have, like, I mean, and you don't have to answer until the end, but these are questions that I have as I'm looking at the chart. Like, do you have a real, like, jerk of a boss? Like, do you have, and I know we're public, so maybe you don't want to say, you know, confirm yes or no, but is there somebody that is, like, bearing down on you? Or is there something at work where it feels maybe like a little oppressive? Again, we've got Pluto on the midheaven. We've got you in the 12th house. So again, there could be a situation where you're, like, maybe not getting promoted, or you feel like you're not being validated, or you feel like you're not being seen. There's something that is stopping you, something that has been preventing your Venusian sensibilities. And in this case, beyond just Venusian, just your own ascendant, like your own ability, your personal ability to feel like you can shine. So those are just signals to me in this chart. So, okay, let's ignore Pluto for a second. Let's pretend we're Renaissance astrologers. We've never heard of Pluto. So now we're just looking at the 10th house ruler. So you've got Capricorn on the midheaven. So that's Saturn. So you have Saturn in the 10th house. And so we're not looking at the current job because I didn't know if you had one or not. I was just looking at these as the job. So all three of these jobs are strong, like they are, and you want to see connection. So you want to see that the 10th house ruler is in the 10th house, or, you know, in even in a more ideal case, the 10th house ruler is, like, in the first house, meaning the job is coming to you, you know, but there are still, like, I'm getting ahead of ourselves. There's still, like, really great indicators. So all three of these jobs seem like they're good, viable, great jobs. Another question I might have asked you is if these jobs feel like career jobs, or if they feel like jobs. Like, if they just feel like, I need a job because I just need to get the hell out of where I'm at. So it doesn't feel like it's something like career focused. But if it's a career job, we're definitely looking at the 10th house. If it was a job that I just described, we might consider the 6th house cusp. But I'm not going to, I didn't, so I'm not going to even look at that right now. I don't know why I needed to text that, but I did. So now we're looking at the 5th house. So there's something signaling to me potentially that, is there something, so we've got the moon in Virgo in the 5th house. Is there some kind of duty related to children? Is there some issue surrounding children potentially, or creativity? Something in this 5th house could be potentially a blockage, or something that is, like, a major consideration. Like, knowing that you do have a current job, like, my one of my thoughts was like, oh, is she Like, did she leave the workforce because of children, or are children, it's something to do with kids? Maybe you work with kids, but the 5th house is signaling to me as the astrologer that some major factor to do with 5th house topics is a consideration here. So the first thing I did look at was like, oh, we've got an inconjunct here. So it's just like, that's not like, they're very close by degree, but it says like, oh, maybe there's some kind of like adjustment or something that needs to happen. But in your case, and like yours was like another one like Aaron's, where I was just like, the moon doesn't really even matter here because you've got yourself and your Venus, and your next aspect is a sextile with Saturn. And like, so the moon doesn't even matter, though it is still like the kids still thing is a question of like maybe like getting a new job. And again, I'm assuming you have, or there's children or some kind of creative project. There's something 5th house-y to me here, or at least it's signaling something to me here. So I could be making a big assumption, and I would talk to you about it. Because again, I'm always willing to be wrong too, but
Well, I'm in school right now.
what's that?
I'm in school.
School would be,
Advancing my education.
is it like weighing on your ability to like make moves?
I may put that on me, but honestly, I don't know outside of that.
Like it might feel like it's
I
internal.
may put that pressure on myself, like I can't do anything because I'm in school, like that kind of thinking. But the weird part is because I just had a reading with Celeste on the 14th, so I'm in the middle of all this construction in my house, so everything is packed up, and I just have this weird intuition, like, wow, I can just get up and move anywhere right now.
Oh, so like,
But these jobs, it's like these 3 jobs are, one of them is within my current facility. It's just a change of position.
Mhm.
But because I'm very assertive.
well, Venus in Aries is very assertive.
Yeah. Oh, I have what, 6 house Virgos. And so I'm not, how would I put it? I could be a troublemaker at work because I speak up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Venus and Aries will definitely do that. So yes, and like the caution of the 12th house is that could have been something I could have said. That could be holding you back potentially. You know what I mean? Like your Venus and Aries, like Aries is always going to be, we know, well, like the Aries kind of markers, like somebody who is outspoken, someone who sometimes thinks before they speak, or doesn't, not always thinking about like the repercussions. It's a cardinal sign. It makes actions, takes the action first, thinks about the consequences later. So that's what Venus and Aries could symbolize. And in the 12th house, it could be an indicator. And it could have been something I said where, maybe that potentially could be getting in your own way. Possibly.
I'm just done with work, and
I get it, because and that's what the Pluto. So the Pluto, there's a potential that somebody at work is like kind of a jerky boss, or there's some kind of Plutonian like thing. But also Pluto on the midheaven, it could be a symbol of a powerful transformation, you stepping into an authority role, like. That could also be a distinct possibility with Pluto on the midheaven. It could be you, or it could be somebody that acts that way towards you, like an overbearing kind of, intense relationship with a boss. But the good news is, I actually, now knowing that one of the jobs is internal, the fact that you have and I'm sorry, I marked this up way too much now, but you've got Saturn ruling the 10th in the 10th, you've got you applying to, Saturn by sextile, which is, that's a yes. So of the 3 jobs, I would say, yeah, it seems like you're going to get one of them. And if it's not one of these 3, if you do want a new job and it's not, one of the 3 you just applied for, the fact that Venus's next aspect is a sextile to jobs is like, I would say within like, and again, it's a unit of time. This is a 55. I'm sorry, because I just wrote over it. I would say Saturn is almost at 11 and Venus is right at the beginning of 6. So I would say it's between 4 and 5. So it could be 4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think this is months, because you got a 10th house significator. And that's a, an angular house.
Yeah, it's the same job. It's an education position within the hospital.
That
So
makes sense too, because you got ninth house here. So
Yeah.
like a lot of all what you're talking about is ninth house. Like a lot of what you're talking about is ninth house.
yeah, it's the same education type of job, but two other hospitals. So it's education. So I applied within, but that was back in February and I haven't heard anything about it. Even, oh my gosh, yes. Even texting my director the day after I applied. And I even wrote in there, you know what? Hey, I'm thinking about applying for the position. I think I'm a good fit because of my my past history in education with adult learners. Please let me know if you have any concerns or hesitations. Crickets. February 5th, haven't heard anything from her.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people have like, I mean, this is not related to astrology, but I mean, I just feel like that's like bad etiquette, you know, like just respond to people. Like
I think that just sealed the deal for me. It's like, that's what I think pushed me to like, I'm done. I'm also at that 5-year period in my, you know, it's 5 years seem to be my little roll around. Like I start looking for another job, but then I have school. I'll be done in a year. And do I want to start another job? But it's never going to hurt me.
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like, you know, especially with the pandemic, when people ask job related questions, like I'll be honest, like sometimes the answer, and it's a harder question to have to answer and say like, you know, not right now, you know, and like that's the other thing I could have said from the jump. Horary charts are charts of the moment. They're not natal charts, you know, like, and I do want to just be clear on that. It's not like, you know, because again, free will is majorly important. Like, so this doesn't mean like whatever I've just said right now is like the answer forever. I think they have a shelf life of about like, you know, a season, like 3 months, you know what I mean? So, and then like, I always think about this, like in every question that has kind of timing built into it, like, will you get a job? Like, you know, you can ask this question. If let's say I said no, you could ask me again in 3 months, because just because I said no, does that mean you're never going to get another job? No, of course not. It just means like right now the energy's not there. But with you, I do just want to say like this was one of my like happier charts to like be able to share, because I was like, yeah, this is a big yes, like, and it's soon. Like, so I would say within the next couple of months, you know, you'll get one of those 3 jobs, or if it's not one of those 3, definitely a new one. Like it's, and especially in times of the pandemic where everyone's like furloughed or this or that, like I would say like this chart was like a really nice, like it was really nice to be able to share, because I was just like, it's a yes. So it's a yes.
You said 4 to 5 weeks, right? And it's only been 2
Or
weeks.
months. It could be months. Like, so the timing is always a little tricky in terms of like, I can tell you the unit of time, like sometimes can be off on like, if, you know, sometimes like I've done like, I mean, this is, nobody cares about when I do my own horaries, but like I've done stuff like, is he going to call? And then it's like, literally he does like in 5 minutes, but it's like, oh, I would have said 5 days. But like, so I don't know. It could be minutes. I don't think it's going to be minutes. Like it's 8:40. Well,
Yeah,
8:45, but yeah, it could be days, months, weeks. I don't think years, because
Okay.
but yeah, I would say soon. Yeah.
Yay, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy for you too.
Thank you.
All right, so that is everybody's chart that was here. And so I know it's been a long session, so I don't think anybody wants to continue to look at charts of people that aren't here. But if, what's up?
I said, I think that's fantastic. I was wondering with that 5th house moon, if
Yeah.
you know, romance, like a relationship.
Could have been that too.
Yeah.
Oh God, Celeste, we talked about that.
I know, that's why that's because
We talked about that, Celeste.
it means something needs adjustment. So maybe you're thinking about, you know.
My God, I love you, Celeste. Your reading was so much fun.
Thank
It was
you.
awesome.
And I pulled the mending card, forgiveness card is the first card. What you need
I'm
to
not texting first. I'm not calling first.
and then your next best action is don't have poverty consciousness. So are you letting success be held back from yourself? Because it's like step into it. You're ready.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, this was so fantastic, Maria. I loved it. I think everybody did too. I know you didn't. I think Nancy asked about her question, but it wasn't really a question that can be answered by horary, I think was the
Yeah, and I think if I can say, like, I think it was Latrice, but I feel like you asked it on your intake too, and those are more I like what I was saying in the jump like of the discussion. Those are more electional. So, and asking a question like, when's a good time to launch a business, or when's a good time to get married or have surgery or this or any number of those things. It's a totally different technique. And it takes it does take more time because like then you're like literally going through like daily charts trying to find, where's the moon and is it applying to the right thing? And is it, so yeah, it's a totally different method than what we did tonight. But I mean, Celeste and I can do an electional webinar.
Yeah, let's plan to do another one. We'll do an electional next time. And then people can ask more time-based questions. And yeah, but that was so amazing, Maria. I am in awe of your skill as an astrologer, and I appreciate it so much. So yeah, if you send me the notes you took.
I'll take all the screenshots I made of everybody's charts so they can look at their chart. I don't know. I mean, again, depending on what level of comfort you have with looking at astrology or astrological charts. And then I also have my Word doc here, I think down there, but of my like judgments. Yeah, I'll send them out.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'll email them to people who signed up, and then they can take a look and make their own judgments. And please remind people if they want to get a reading with you or have a horary with you, where do they go?
MariaSofiaAstro.com is my website, and then MariaSofia_Astro is my Instagram.
Yeah, and I'm at Astrology by Celeste and astrologybyceleste.com. So yes, book a reading with one of us if you're interested. Definitely get on my mailing list so you can be informed about the upcoming free events that are happening, as well as when Maria and I get back together to do another electional thing. So thank you everyone for coming. Have a beautiful evening. And yeah, happy full moon. It's going to be a bit emotional. I have my YouTube of the full moon up as well. You can check that out. So bye everyone. I'm just going to stop.
Thank you for coming.
And let me stop the YouTube. You can wait a second if you don't want to, or if you're not too tired, Maria.
Oh, I can say. I mean,
yeah, I was just going to chat with you for a minute. And let's see. I want to make sure to stop this YouTube. Once I did this and just kind of like just kept talking. Let's see. Oh, I think I do it from Zoom.